Most men believe attraction is created through looks, money, or saying the perfect line. But the truth is far more psychological than that. A woman rarely falls for a man because of one flashy moment. She falls because of the way he makes her nervous system feel when he's around. And older men, whether they realize it or not, often trigger emotions in women that younger men struggle to create naturally. There's a reason a woman can ignore 10 younger guys chasing her attention and suddenly become deeply curious about a calm older man who barely says much at all. It isn't always about status. It isn't always about money. It's about emotional gravity, presence, depth, the kind of energy that only comes from experience, scars, restraint, and self-control. And today, we're going to break down the hidden things women secretly love about older men that they almost never admit openly. Not because they're ashamed of it, but because most of these attractions happen beneath conscious awareness. These are emotional reactions women feel before they logically explain them to themselves. Stay with me until the end, because the final trait is the one that changes everything. It's the hidden psychological switch that makes a woman stop seeing a man as older and start seeing him as unforgettable. The first thing women secretly love about older men is emotional steadiness. Younger men often move emotionally like waves. One day confident, the next insecure, one day obsessed, the next distant. Their energy fluctuates depending on attention, validation, or mood. But an older man who has lived through disappointment, failure, heartbreak, pressure, and responsibility usually develops emotional control. And women feel that immediately. When she's emotional, stressed, overwhelmed, or uncertain, your calmness affects her nervous system. She notices that you don't panic during silence. You don't overreact to small misunderstandings. You don't lose your composure because of delayed texts or emotional tension. That emotional steadiness creates something extremely powerful in female psychology: safety. Not safety in the physical sense alone. Emotional safety. Women are constantly reading emotional energy. They notice how a man handles pressure. They observe how he responds when things don't go his way. And an older man who remains grounded during chaos communicates strength without needing to announce it. This is why women often describe older men as peaceful, comfortable, or easy to be around. Those words sound simple, but psychologically, they mean something very deep. It means her nervous system relaxes around you, and when a woman's guard relaxes, attraction grows naturally. The second thing women secretly love about older men is decisive energy. Most younger men hesitate constantly because they're terrified of rejection. They overthink every message, every plan, every move. They ask endless questions because they're trying not to offend or fail. But mature masculine energy moves differently. An older man usually understands that leadership is attractive, not control, not dominance. Leadership. He chooses the restaurant confidently. He makes plans clearly. He speaks with intention instead of uncertainty. He doesn't constantly ask, "What do you want to do?" because he understands that endless indecision creates emotional exhaustion. And here's something women rarely admit openly. Making decisions all day long is mentally draining. Many women spend their entire lives managing emotions, schedules, social dynamics, expectations, and pressure. So when a man enters her life with calm direction and certainty, it feels relieving. Not because she wants to lose control, but because she finally feels like she doesn't have to carry everything mentally. An older man says, "I know a good place, let's go there." And something inside her relaxes instantly because confidence reduces emotional tension. The third thing women secretly love about older men is patience. Younger men often rush attraction because they're trying to secure validation quickly. They push conversations too fast. They escalate too aggressively. They become emotionally reactive when they don't get instant results. But older men usually understand timing. They know that attraction breathes in space. They know tension grows through patience. They know emotional connection cannot be forced. And because of that, women feel less pressure around them. Pressure kills attraction faster than almost anything else. When a woman feels rushed, her mind enters protection mode. She starts analyzing, defending, pulling back emotionally. But when a man is patient, present, and emotionally composed, she becomes curious instead of defensive. Curiosity is one of the strongest forms of attraction. This is why women often find themselves thinking about older men long after interactions end. Because he didn't force the moment. He allowed it to unfold naturally. He created emotional space instead of emotional pressure. And emotional space is where desire grows. The fourth thing women secretly love about older men is experience. Not experience with women specifically, experience with life. An older man has usually failed enough times to stop pretending to be perfect. He's dealt with loss, stress, responsibilities, difficult people, disappointment, and uncertainty, and that experience changes the way he carries himself. Younger men often try to impress women by performing confidence loudly. Older men don't always need to perform because they've already survived enough to know who they are. That self-awareness is magnetic. Women notice when a man doesn't need constant attention. They notice when he isn't desperate to prove himself in every conversation. They notice when he listens more than he talks, when he stays composed instead of competing for validation. Experience creates depth, and depth creates emotional intrigue. A woman may initially notice a younger man's appearance, but she often stays emotionally attached to the older man who understands people, understands emotions, and understands himself. The fifth thing women secretly love about older men is restraint. This one is extremely misunderstood. Most men think attraction is about constantly showing desire, constant compliments, constant pursuit, constant attention. But psychologically, restraint creates mystery. An older man often understands that he doesn't need to react to everything emotionally. He doesn't chase every woman aggressively. He doesn't over-explain himself. He doesn't become obsessed the second he feels attraction. And because of that restraint, his attention feels valuable. Women are incredibly intuitive when it comes to emotional energy. They can sense when a man is desperate for approval. They can feel when his entire emotional state depends on female validation. And ironically, that dependence weakens attraction. But an older man who already has a life, purpose, routine, mission, and identity outside of women creates a completely different feeling. His interest feels intentional instead of needy. And intentional attention is powerful. The sixth thing women secretly love about older men is the way they listen. Younger men often listen just enough to respond. Older men tend to listen to understand, and women remember that. A woman notices when you remember details she mentioned casually 2 weeks ago. She notices when you ask deeper questions instead of surface-level ones. She notices when you make her feel emotionally seen instead of simply visually desired. That emotional attentiveness creates intimacy long before physical intimacy ever happens. And here's the interesting part. Women often become emotionally attached to men who make them feel understood because emotional understanding is rare. Most people listen to reply. Very few people listen with presence. Older men who have matured emotionally usually communicate slower, calmer, and with more intention. And that slower emotional rhythm makes women feel heard instead of rushed. The seventh thing women secretly love about older men is emotional independence. This may be the most powerful trait of all. A mature man often reaches a point where he no longer builds his identity around whether women approve of him. He enjoys connection, but he does not emotionally collapse without it. That changes everything, because now his attention feels chosen, not begged for. Women are naturally drawn toward men who already feel complete within themselves. Not arrogant, not emotionally unavailable, just internally grounded. An older man who genuinely enjoys his own life becomes deeply attractive because his energy says, "I want you in my life, but I don't need you to complete me." And psychologically, that creates emotional tension. because now she feels the desire to earn access to your world instead of feeling pressured to protect herself from yours. The eighth thing women secretly love about older men is calm masculinity, not loud masculinity. Calm masculinity. There's a huge difference. Loud masculinity constantly tries to prove itself. It dominates conversations, it seeks validation, it forces attention. Calm masculinity doesn't need to announce power because it already feels secure internally. An older man who speaks slowly, moves intentionally, maintains eye contact calmly, and stays emotionally grounded creates a feeling women instinctively trust. And trust is deeply connected to attraction. A woman may enjoy excitement temporarily, but emotional trust is what creates long-term desire. It's what makes her soften emotionally. It's what makes her vulnerable. It's what makes her feel safe enough to reveal the deeper parts of herself. And older men often create that trust naturally because they've learned that strength is not loudness. Strength is emotional control. But now we reach the final secret, the master key. Women almost never say openly. Women secretly love that older men make them feel emotionally feminine again. Modern life forces many women into constant stress, pressure, independence, competition, and emotional guarding. They're constantly thinking, managing, solving, protecting, planning, but when a mature man enters her life with calmness, certainty, patience, emotional intelligence, and grounded energy, something shifts inside her. She relaxes. Her voice softens. Her guard lowers. She laughs more naturally. She stops feeling like she has to control every interaction emotionally. And this isn't weakness. It's relief. A woman deeply enjoys being around a man who makes her feel emotionally safe enough to stop performing strength constantly. That emotional contrast becomes addictive. And this is why many women find themselves unexpectedly attracted to older men even when they originally thought they preferred younger ones. Because attraction is not always logical. It's emotional, psychological, nervous system based. A younger man may create excitement quickly, but an older man often creates emotional gravity, and gravity pulls people closer without force. So if you've ever felt like age makes you less attractive, understand something important. Time can either weaken a man or refine him, and the men women remember most are rarely the loudest, youngest, or flashiest. They're the men who made women feel calm, understood, feminine, emotionally safe, and deeply seen. That's the real secret. And once you understand that, you stop chasing youth and start building presence.